Today we have the story of Henry and his wife Megan. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to support us. Let's begin. I don't appreciate it when she answers my question with another question. Without thinking, she does it every time. No matter the question or the answer, she responds to my question with a question. She does it for everything. Megan, what's for dinner? Does it look like I've cooked? Megan, do you want us to move the chair? Where did I say I wanted it? No matter the topic, my questions are always answered with another question. The only time she couldn't answer my question with another question was during the very last question I asked her. What was the question? 4 simple little words, followed by a question mark. But it was the hardest question she ever had to face. Why would you stay? It was a question she had no answer for. The hardest part is that I knew she wouldn't be able to answer it. Cheaters can never escape it. They can give you the most convoluted response, but deep down they know the truth. It's just about getting them to acknowledge it. From the start, I should have known it would end like this. My marriage was problematic from the beginning. I should have just listened to my father and followed the rules. My father taught me the 8 rules a man should follow in his life. A woman is fun until you mess it all up. Work is only hard when you don't want to do it. If you want to know what your wife will look like in 20 years, look at her mother. It takes a strong woman not to become like her mother. Friends are many, but true brothers are forever. Never give all your money to your wife. No cheater is worth half, no matter the judge's verdict. Looks fade, but beauty lasts forever. My father always said, if my mother disappeared and her purse was left behind, it meant one of 2 things. Either she ran away or he made her run. If she was running, she'd leave her purse behind, because he wouldn't give her anything. My father always spoke loud enough for my mother to hear. Son, she'll leave with what she had when she entered this marriage, and nothing more. Period. I always wondered, what makes a man so hateful? It was part of the little life lessons I'd learn later. Update. I've never been a fan of telling my life story, so I won't. But I'll give you the essentials. My name is Henry. I was born in northern Texas, in a good family. My father beat me every day when I deserved it, and sometimes even when I didn't. My mother was the pillar of our family. My sisters Kelly and Ann were always there for me, and my little brother, Carlton. And then, there's Megan. I met Megan in 8th grade. She was very pretty, and for me, it was love at first sight. We didn't get together until my sophomore year in college. From that moment on, she became my girlfriend. For those wondering why it took us so long to become a couple, ask her father. That man was always angry. If anyone got within a meter of his daughter, he'd yell like a dog. It took 3 years for him to let me sit on their porch, then another year just to let me use his first name. And it always felt like he was listening to our phone conversations. Before she could even ask him if I could date her, he'd shout, "No." So, believe me when I tell you it shocked me greatly. When I asked for permission to marry Megan, he said, "Yes, my boy, you can." That angry man had just called me his son. Over the past 6 years, I've been called a jerk, an idiot, a fool. But now I was his son. For me, married life was great. However, life with Megan was anything but boring. Over the past 15 years, life has been tough but good. We worked, we had fun, we made love, and we had children. Indeed, we had 3 children. Jessica and Paul are little angels. Every time one of us was in the mood, and things started to heat up, the situation exploded. Only, in our 25th year of living together, the only thing that kept me from leaving the country was the kids. 2 of the 3 kids had already left home, and the 3rd was about to. Tommy was at the University of Florida, Jessica was in Knoxville, and Paul had just finished high school, and was headed to Gainesville to study at the University of Florida, known for its team nicknamed the Gators. But as a typical teenager, he decided to party on his last night at home. Paul misbehaved and tried to drive home drunk. He hit a pole and had to be hospitalized. Megan and I rushed to the hospital. There was damage to his lung and he needed a kidney. His kidneys were too damaged and he needed a donor quickly. The doctor asked if he could run blood tests to check if I was compatible. Megan looked at us strangely, as if she was trying to figure something out. Then she said, "Don't bother, He's not Paul's father. I stepped back and looked at her. I tried to grab her, but the doctor stopped me and told me not to do that now. I asked her what she was talking about. The doctor told her she needed to get the father here to save Paul. I turned around and left. Then I stopped, turned back, and dropped my wedding ring on the floor, and went into the room to see Paul. I couldn't even think at that moment that he wasn't my son. I just wanted him to get the help he needed. When Megan and the doctor came into the room, I turned around and left. The doctor grabbed my arm and told me I had to stay, because Paul needed both of us at that moment. So I stayed. Later that night, Paul's father arrived, about an hour after my brother Carlton showed up. I was about to explain what was going on when I saw they had taken his blood. Paul's father was Megan's brother-in-law, who is my brother Carlton's wife. Then, he, the doctor, and Megan left the room. I had my answer. Carlton came in trying to explain what had happened. I left the room. It was too much for me to handle. As I walked out into the waiting room, Abby, Carlton's wife, was sitting there with her head in her hands, crying. I didn't know if it was because of Paul, or because of what she'd found out about Carlton and Megan. Either way, both issues were thorny. The doctor approached and asked if he could talk to me for a second. He told me I had to step up and be there for Paul and Megan. They were going to need me. I asked him, how am I supposed to do that? How can I show up for this traitor? She just told me my son is actually my nephew. She's been my brother's mistress for some unknown amount of time. But we know it's been at least 18 years since Paul is his son. And how am I supposed to treat Carlton now? I can no longer see him as my brother. What kind of brother seduces his own brother's wife and lets him raise his kids? But since you're the doctor, maybe you can give me something for this. Maybe you can give me lie detector glasses. Is there a follow-up to this mess? Get this liar and my brother out of my life. Maybe you know a way to erase these things from my memory? Hey, I figured you wouldn't. So get away from me and try to fix Paul. You can't help my marriage or my life. The doctor shook his head, then turned and went back to Paul's room. I went to see Abby and asked her what Carlton had told her. She said my 3 children were his. Carlton told me that Megan had confided in him that I was infertile. That was news to me. How could she have known? I'd only been to the hospital once, and I was 10 years old. Something was going on. I had to find answers. Update 1. It was only the next day at 11:30 that the doctor told us Paul was going to be okay. Carlton's kidney was a perfect match. I was heading for the exit when Megan and the doctor rushed toward me. Just as the door was closing, Megan approached to hug me, but the doctor stopped her. Megan asked me, "Where are you going?" "And our son Paul?" That hurt me. Our son? I turned around and left. I got home around 2:30 that afternoon, after a quick stop at Home Depot to buy some lock. I changed the locks on the house. Then I started packing Megan's bags. I had packed 4 bags before I got the first call. It was her father, who wanted to come over to talk before I did something. Some like what? I asked him. Come on, Dad, what reason would I have to do something? Before he could say another word, I hung up the phone. While packing Megan's things, it made me think of Paul and everything that had happened. It brought me back to all the long discussions in our psychology classes. Nature versus nurture. Did DNA make Paul my son? In my heart, certainly, he was mine from the first moments of his life. The first steps, the first time he caught a football, his first fight, his first date, his first kiss, talking to him about the birds and the bees. Didn't all those things make him my son? However, when he really needed me, his father, the truth is I wasn't there. Was I there when he needed blood and a kidney? 2 things I would have gladly given, but I couldn't. In his most critical moment of need, I could only stand there, helpless, because Megan turned out to be a cheater. The moment the doctor said he needed a kidney, he was no longer my son. The family name would live on. But what about my branch of the family tree? There would be no more branch. Of course, Carlton's lineage counted. That person, the 4 children he had with Abby, and the 3 he had with Megan, made Carlton the paterfamilias. However, I had to stop thinking about all that for a moment, because it was giving me a headache, so I went to the fridge to grab a beer, and sat down in my recliner. I had barely turned on the TV when I heard cars pulling up. I didn't move. I sat there drinking my beer, listening to them knock on the door. You'd have thought there were 4 or 5 people outside. They'd been knocking for about 10 minutes when Megan arrived. I think it was my father who told her to use her key to open the door. I bet they were really surprised when her key didn't work. After finishing my beer, I got up and opened the door. I asked my father what he wanted. He spoke up and asked if he could come in to talk to me. I told them it was fine, as long as Carlton and Megan weren't with him. Megan was sitting on the porch, crying. I think that's when they realized things wouldn't go as they had planned. So, for the next 2 hours, they spilled everything. They all knew, except Abby and me. I couldn't believe these people were my family. Abby understood how Megan felt. My father, the man who taught me how to handle a cheating wife, now wanted me to live with one. It's strange how being grandparents can cloud thinking. My son, she did what she had to do to give you the family you wanted. You need to calm down and understand how Megan felt. I didn't, and I wasn't about to try. I was done. I'll never understand how a woman wanting a baby is a reason for her to go achieve her goal. Is there a difference for a man who longs to have a baby with his wife, only to find out she can't give him one? I forgot that, according to these guidelines, only women can afford to be deceitful. It seems another woman only understands what it's like to not be able to give birth. I guess men don't want families. They don't want to see their children grow in their partner's womb. They don't find joy in caring for their beloved, their lifelong companion, during that time. I guess I'm not a man, then, since, according to them, I shouldn't be hurting. He was spouting all kinds of nonsense, and that's what it was, nonsense, about how I should think of the kids and preserve the family unit. He talked to me about a woman's sadness when she can't have a child, and women's emotionality. As a finale, they gave me a so-called blessing from above. That's when I snapped and told them all to _ off. She's a cheater and had my brother's children. That's a blessing? If that's a blessing, then I need to change my belief. It turns out my mother told Megan I couldn't have children because I had yellow fever when I was 10 years old. She told Megan but forgot to tell me. Hey, what a mother. After kicking them all out, the kids arrived about an hour later. They told me Megan had contacted them, but asked them to stop by her parents first. So they came home earlier. I spent the next hour explaining what had happened. I didn't hide anything. Jessica didn't want to believe it. She called and booked an appointment for a DNA test. Then she went to see Megan. Tommy said it didn't matter, because I was his father no matter what. But he followed Jessica's plan because he needed to know. The next day, we all went to the hospital. We checked on Paul's condition. Then we had blood drawn. After that, Jessica went to visit Megan. Meanwhile, Tommy and I watched over Paul for a few hours. Then we went back home. Final update. It goes without saying that the atmosphere was very tense in the house in the days that followed. On the 3rd day, we got a call from the hospital. The results were in. It turned out that only Jessica was my daughter. Goodbye, shooting blanks. Tommy had left, because it meant Megan had cheated on me since the 2nd year of our marriage. Not even 2 years of marriage, and she got pregnant with Tommy after just 18 months. I filed for divorce the same day the results came in. I handed the DNA test results to my lawyer. I didn't want a 50-50 split. I wanted it all. You see, I'm a firm believer in equal rights. When a man cheats, everyone shouts, "Make him pay to the max. Don't get mad, take everything." However, when a man is cheated on, people wonder what he did. Are you sure? You should get her help instead of divorcing. I can't tell you how many friends I lost in the days that followed. I lost my parents and my in-laws. because they knew from the start. At the last meeting, Megan asked for 30 minutes alone. After 25 years of marriage, 23 years and 4 months of lies. But who's counting? I could afford to sit and listen to yet another lie. Even at our last meeting, everything was a question. Henry, haven't I been a good wife to you? Have you ever felt lacking in anything? After all the love we've shared, do you really want to abandon our relationship? I mean, really, Henry, why would you want to leave? I gave her 30 minutes, but in the end, I asked her one question. It wasn't a difficult question. It was the only one she had no answer for. I spent the next 10 minutes summing up everything that happened over the last 2 years of our marriage. Then I asked Megan, why would you want to stay? Then I got up and left. The divorce was finalized 90 days later. There was no alimony from me, no child support, absolutely nothing. In the end, Megan agreed to pay me alimony of $350 a month for 5 years. There was no house to sell. I gave the house to Jessica. Now I live there rent-free. As for our finances, I had no job, so no salary. I quit the day before the DNA results came in. She cheated on me for over 20 years, and a judge was going to make me pay for it? I have no money in the bank. I had to use it for Paul's medical bills. From nothing, nothing comes. That was the original point. The only good thing was that Abby came by to tell me that my parents, along with Megan and Carlton, were planning to convince me to talk to them and rebuild a family. Abby and I spent the next 3 hours planning and joking. However, by the end of the day, Paul, Tommy, and I would be on a cruise during their visit. When we returned from the cruise, Jessica told me my lawyer was ready to file a lawsuit against Carlton for 23 years of unpaid child support. We were asking for €350,000 per child, college, cars, and everything else. After all, kids are expensive. Once the lawsuit was filed, Abby filed for divorce. I never adopted Paul or Tommy. They didn't want me to. They knew I was their father. If not by blood, then by the love of being there. 10 years have passed. I'm now 62 years old, and I have children aged 5 and 10. My wife, Abby, is 52. Yes, you heard that right, Abby. I'll never admit it, but I love spending Carlton's alimony to buy nice things for my kids. And no, I didn't marry Abby for revenge. Flaunting our relationship in front of Carlton doesn't bother me at all. Megan had told Jessica she'd wait for me until the end of time and take me back one day. Even Jessica laughed at that statement. My parents constantly begged Jessica and Abby to let me go see them. We'll be dead soon, and he won't forgive himself for not being there, they say. I'm thinking about forgiving them on their deathbed, but it's unlikely that will happen. After all, they're 80 and 82 years old. Plus, they have Carlton. Hello to you. To everyone joining me today. Today, we're wrapping up a story that's tough, but one that any of us could encounter on our path. It's about cheating and lies. The lies of his parents and Megan were a painful chapter in Henry's life, but they also served as a catalyst for his personal growth. It taught him that despite heartbreak, he could find the strength to build his life and rediscover his worth. Maybe as he took his new wife's hand and looked into her eyes, Henry knew he had emerged from the shadow of deceit, stronger and wiser than before. Finding out that someone you trusted has lied to you can feel like a tsunami wave of emotion crashing over you. The pain, anger, and confusion can be overwhelming. But let me tell you, that moment doesn't define who you are or your worth. Remember, my friends, you have an incredible inner strength that can shine even in the darkest moments. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to feel betrayed. But it's not okay to let those emotions consume you. You are more than the sum of your pain. Instead of dwelling on the deceit, focus on your growth. Take this experience as an opportunity to rise, stronger than ever before. It's a chance to rediscover yourself, your passions, and your dreams. Turn this obstacle into a stepping stone toward a more resilient and empowered version of yourself. Surround yourself with those who lift you up. Engage in activities that bring you joy and nourish your soul. You are not defined by the actions of others, but by your reaction to them.